You've probably seen this box 100 times on a supermarket shelf, but have you ever really wondered about the story inside? Today, we're going to go behind the label to uncover the quiet revolution of Dilmah Tea.
You almost certainly recognize it, right? It's one of the biggest tea brands in the world, sold in over 100 countries. It's everywhere.
And you probably remember the ads. The founder himself, Merrill J. Fernando, personally inviting you to try his family's tea. It all feels so familiar, so wholesome and straightforward.
But what if I told you that gentle invitation was actually the start of a quiet rebellion? That this whole family business was built specifically to dismantle a system that had been in place for centuries?
See, to really get Dilmah, you first have to understand the problem it was created to solve. And that problem? Well, it's rooted in the colonial history of the entire tea industry. For decades, the model was simple and honestly pretty exploitative. Huge foreign corporations would buy raw tea leaves from Sri Lanka for pennies, ship them overseas, then do all the blending, packaging, and branding abroad, keeping almost all the profits for themselves. Dilmah just flipped this model on its head. Their goal was to keep the entire process, and therefore all the value, inside Sri Lanka.
And this wasn't just some clever business plan. No, this was a personal pledge from one man who saw the injustice firsthand and just decided he had to change it.
Back in the 1950s, as a young tea taster, Merrill J. Fernando saw how his country's most famous product was making foreign companies rich while leaving very little behind for Sri Lankans. It took him decades, but in 1985 he founded Dilmah. He actually named it after his sons, Dilhan and Malik. Just 3 years later, it landed on supermarket shelves in Australia, which was the first time ever that a producer-owned tea brand had gone truly global. Now, central to this whole promise was the concept of single origin. And this wasn't just some marketing term, it was a radical commitment. It meant absolutely no blending with cheaper teas from other countries. The tea in your cup came from one place, and one place only, Sri Lanka. This guaranteed much better quality, fresher tea, and true authenticity. So that simple phrase, "Do try it," it wasn't just a friendly slogan. It was a confident challenge to all the big players. Fernando was basically betting that the superior quality of his single origin, ethically produced tea would speak for itself.
But the revolution wasn't just about the tea itself. It was about what the business could do. Fernando built the entire company around a core philosophy that business should be a matter of human service. And this philosophy really rests on 3 clear pillars. It's not just about making a profit, it's about sharing that profit for social good, protecting the very environment it comes from, and making sure there's economic fairness for its home country.
And this isn't some vague promise either. The company dedicates a minimum of 15% of its pre-tax profits to fund its charitable work. This commitment is literally written into the foundation of the business itself. And you can see that commitment in action. Through their MJF Charitable Foundation, that 15% provides real, tangible support. It funds schools, it empowers local entrepreneurs, and it provides a safety net for vulnerable women, directly impacting thousands and thousands of lives every single year.
Their commitment also extends to the land itself. You know, Dilmah was one of the first tea companies to make conservation a core part of its business. They've already achieved carbon neutrality, and they're innovating with everything from plastic-free packaging to creating nature corridors that help protect local biodiversity. It's amazing stuff.
And finally, that third pillar brings us right back to the heart of the whole enterprise. Their entire economic model is built as a direct rejection of that old, exploitative colonial system. So how does a revolutionary brand that was founded back in the 80s stay relevant today? Well, it's all about adapting that original mission to modern challenges and tastes. The landscape today it's complex. On one hand, you've got these huge opportunities in things like ready-to-drink products and reaching consumers directly online. But on the other hand, they're facing some serious threats. Climate change is directly impacting their tea gardens, competition is absolutely fierce, and global costs for everything are rising. Their strategy today is to really connect with a new generation. They're pairing this high-end experience of tea gastronomy, think tea mixology and fancy tea lounges, with their deep-rooted eco-ethics. This positions Dilmah not just as a tea, but as a lifestyle choice for conscious consumers who care just as much about where a product comes from as how it tastes. So after all of this, what should you remember the next time you see that box of Dilmah on the shelf? What is the ultimate takeaway from this whole story?
It really comes down to this one single, powerful idea. By simply choosing to package the tea where it's grown, Dilmah transformed an extractive industry into a supportive one. The wealth that's generated by Sri Lanka's most famous export, it finally stays in Sri Lanka. That right there is the revolution in the teacup.
So it kind of leaves us with a question, doesn't it? We're surrounded by brands that all tell us a story. But how often do we actually look past the friendly slogan on the box and ask what that story really is?